And here we are, back to the Music Bar Podcast, episode 41. And I welcome everyone back and welcome back, Dan.
Oh, did we actually? I was a bit. I'm sure everyone out there, and probably you and me, were like, "Are we going to come back to this? We're not going to leave it at 40." But no, no, no. We're into the
No,
40s now, guys.
we've got to get to 50, at least 50, but yeah,
Oh,
40.
at least 50. At least 50.
Lots of things to talk about. We've had a bit of a hiatus. I'm quickly going to run through why we've had that little bit of a hiatus. Not the best news for me, but obviously, if you've watched the show before, I have been moving house, so I've actually now moved house, and that took a lot of process. So everything with my house was packed up, sent away, and I've now finally reset everything. But we've also, in the meantime, just sold our house, the old one we used to live in. So that also took a lot of time that we never expected. But it's all done. That's all done. And then that was already over a month. And then I got the news that my mother had passed away. So I had to fly down to Tasmania from Brisbane very quickly. I was down there for about 8 or so days. I'm actually heading back down there again on Wednesday for 4 days. So it's been a very up and down 2 months. We've been off air for, and yeah,
Two
no one can
months.
ever
Wow.
be prepared to experience the loss of your parent. So that really shook us all, obviously, and obviously this whole Music Bar podcast wasn't thought about for quite a while. So, but we are back, and music is my
Mm.
medication, and Dan is here to help me through that. We're talking about
And
music again, so welcome back, everybody. Thank you for
thank
watching
you. And
again.
I've said, but my condolences, obviously, to you,
Yeah.
Chris, and your family, and everything
Thank you.
like that. And yes, I did sort of. I think you're probably a bit worried that we were going to, but I thought, no, no, we still got to keep going. We're still on. We're
Oh,
still
no,
on.
it's never been a doubt not to come back. It's something you have to
It's just
deal
when.
with when it happens, and
It
this
was
is
just
what I've
when.
loved to do. So, and love
Yeah.
it with you too, Dan. So
Thanks,
it's
man.
been
Yeah, no.
been good.
Well, to be honest, in that 2 month period, it was a bit of a lull in news, but then all of a sudden, this last week, this it's
Yeah,
happening again, which is
absolutely.
great.
Yeah.
Absolutely great. Yeah.
Um, we'll quickly go through a few subjects today because we're only going to do 40 minutes or so. But the
Uh,
first thing I want to talk about today is what would have been episode 41 back 8 weeks ago with the first Taylor Hawkins
mm,
tribute show, which I did
mm.
watch the whole thing. I did watch bits and pieces, but before I get into what I thought was amazing, what did you think of it? Or what did you, any highlights?
I'll look like you. I saw bits and pieces of it, and you're probably going to mention the same thing. The complete standout was Wolfgang Van Halen.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think. I
Absolutely.
think everybody. We all knew Wolfie was talented,
Mm.
but everyone's jaw just kind of hit the floor when he came out and did these note perfect renditions of Panama and Hot for Teacher.
No, the first night was on fire in
On
London
fire,
and
sorry,
Hot for
on
Teacher.
fire. That's right.
And the
Yeah,
LA show they did recently was Panama and Hot for Teacher. So yeah,
that's right.
on
They did
fire,
Panama and Hot for Teacher.
yeah,
Yes.
amazing. And just watching him play
Mm.
that note for note, the way he did it was just blew me away. It blew me away.
I
Um,
think you could even see the look on his face was it blew himself away too, because
yeah,
I think
yeah,
he just
yeah.
had that look after he nailed Hot for Teacher. You could see he just kind of looked up as if to go, I just did that. I can't
I
believe
just
I
did
just
that.
did that.
Yeah.
You know?
So that was my highlights for sure. And to another thing about the whole thing, not so much artist wise, but just the fact they got it together so quickly with
mm,
so many names on board in two major countries and cities.
mm.
I give them credit for doing that. I wish Van Halen did the same thing when Eddie passed away. I kind of wish they did that for a lot of other artists when they passed away suddenly, had some kind of tribute. But the fact they got so many people on such a big scale,
Mm.
credit to all the guys who got it involved, Dave and all the rest of them, whoever did it. They are amazing. And yeah, it was a great clips I saw. So yeah, that was definitely my pick of the bunch was Wolfgang. So, but yeah, credit to them all.
I think it says a lot about um, the regard in which Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins were held within the industry.
Mm. Oh, for
That
sure.
people were very willing. It's like seemed like Taylor just seemed to touch everybody he came in contact with.
Yeah.
They just loved this guy, and I think the great thing about one thing I do like about artists is sometimes when they're just complete fans themselves.
Yeah.
They drop the bullshit, so to speak, and they're in awe of other musicians. And Taylor was clearly a fan.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Grohl is clearly a fan. One thing I think I've always said to you, what I've liked about Def Leppard is they are clearly fans.
Mm.
And even now, they're a superstar band and one of the biggest of all time, and yet you could still see that they are in awe of those that came before them, and yeah, you could really see that with Taylor and Dave, and this fact that they were probably able to make some phone calls and people went, you bet I'm there.
Yeah.
It's
and
great.
That's the thing too. I never, as a big Van Halen fan as I am, I never expected them to do the Van Halen thing, because we all know now, and I knew beforehand anyway, Taylor Hawkins is a massive Van Halen fan. So to be able to get Wolfgang to come out and do those two shows and perform, it's such a credit to them to make sure they pick the right bands, the right songs for Taylor Hawkins. It's not their favorites; it's Taylor's favorites. So yeah.
And here's another thing to think about too. You're getting Wolfgang Van Halen to do Van Halen songs, which he said he would always never do as a solo performer. Yet they were able to get him to come out and do 3 ultimately Van Halen songs. And yeah, it says so much, And I remember we messaged after we saw that, and I said, he obviously had a good teacher, and you said no. Apparently, Wolfgang said his father was the worst teacher.
Yeah. His father, we used to teach him basically saying he'd just go there and show what to do and walk off, and you'd be sitting there going, I didn't see any of that. I don't know what you did. So he taught himself everything pretty much. But on that too, speaking of Wolfgang being the son of Eddie, I just wanted to say too, another highlight was watching Taylor Hawkins' son play the song on drums. And that was such a great emotional moment. Well done, mate. It's so good. And then you can see Dave Grohl, when he was singing, he was facing the crowd, but he turned around and faced I can't remember his son's name.
Scout,
but he turned around and faced
wasn't it Scout?
I don't remember. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sorry, I don't remember.
He turned around and faced him playing the drums and just make sure that he was all right and he was all good. You're doing well, mate. I'm watching you. Turn around, keep singing the audience, back again, watching this kid play drums for his dad. So yeah, great show. Well done, everybody. And phenomenal tribute. Any other time they do another tribute for anybody, watch that and learn.
Look, I think it was all set when they did the Chester Bennington tribute with Linkin Park. They had all the guest singers and everything and all the guest performers. And it's amazing. Alanis Morissette sang for both. But Taylor, she had the connection. Taylor was his first professional gig, so to speak. But and then they've done it in a bigger way capacity for Taylor. I can understand why you say, I wish they would have done it for Eddie. But there just still seems to be a bit too much bullshit there, especially with Sammy and Dave,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wish they could just throw that kind of whole rubbish away and go, look, this is what we can do as fans and friends, family of Eddie, instead of those two have to keep going on about. I still get annoyed. Like, I'm a fan of both eras of Dave and Sammy Hagar, and I still listen to Sammy talk about Dave, and I still hear him talk about Van Halen in bad ways. And I'm like, just cut it out, stop it. It's not going to stop if you don't stop. Be the bigger band. We know Dave won't ever be that person, but it's hopefully one day. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about Taylor Hawkins. Amazing.
It was great.
One other thing I wanted to talk about quickly, well, not really quickly either, is you went to Kiss.
Yay! I went to Kiss.
You did.
Yeah, you were wanting to, I remember, but I think everything just sort of went a bit upside down for you. Kiss was great. Absolutely. I mean, I've seen Kiss. This was my 5th time seeing Kiss.
Right.
I'm so glad I went. I know it was the farewell tour. I know I've seen footage of Paul not being able to sing so well. He's obviously had the right treatment on his voice or whatever.
Okay.
He sang great. They played great. The show was just amazing.
Yep.
And I tell you, I had the biggest smile on my face all night. I don't think I've enjoyed a concert so much as I did that night. I just felt like once again, I was a teenager again.
Yeah.
And these were my heroes up on stage. And it was like, this is the last time I'm going to see these guys.
Yeah.
And also the one thing too, and hope you get to experience one day with your boy, is it was the first, I went with my two of my daughters and they both loved it. My 11-year-old sang along and smiled and cheered. And my older one, 21-year-old, did the same thing all through the show. You know, my oldest even yelled out, "I love you, Paul." You know, I had such a great time. Look, it wasn't, if someone could be really critical and say, "Oh no, it wasn't a great concert," you know, I'd say, no, I don't care. This thing made me feel something.
Yeah.
And I felt great after seeing Kiss. The next day I didn't, because I was standing up all night and dancing and moving and swinging and just, the old body doesn't handle it as well as it once used to.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I hope you can take your boy one day to see a band you love, and hopefully it will happen.
Yeah.
And you'll see them. And if they love it as much as you do, it's something else. It really is. It's something else. It's like it's not so much you go, I've raised this kid right. It is a bit way, but it's like they're looking at it through their own eyes, and they appreciate it for the exact same reasons you like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I felt like, you know, I was my daughter Ramona's age when I first got into Kiss, you know, about 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And here she was, 10 or 11, and her first concert was a Kiss concert. And it was like it was such a great night. It was really good. I loved it. You know, it's sad to see but all things must come to an end, good or bad. We can discuss that later.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I didn't go to the concert, obviously. Things were going on with me, but my missus, Alexis, she did go. She got an invite.
Oh, did she?
Last minute. Yeah, she went to the one on the Gold Coast. A friend of hers had a corporate box, and she went and got a ticket to that and watched the very first Kiss concert from a corporate box. And I asked her the next day when she came home, and I saw her, you know, how was it? And she said, I knew 2 songs, and that was it. So I feel like she wasted a corporate box seat, to be honest, because that's all she knew. Apparently, a lot of people there with her didn't really know much of it either. So,
that's a corporate box.
Heard the songs and went, "Oh, I know this one. Oh, I know this one." As a show, she wasn't amazed by it at all. She doesn't really, doesn't see that kind of show normally. So, but I just didn't have the time for it, to be honest. But anyway, good on you. It's good to see that kind of thing and feel like youngness come through as like you're a kid again.
I could. Look, I'm not big on nostalgia. I'm not a fan of always having to look back to validate yourself.
Yeah.
But there was just something about going to this show. This show, you know, not many things. This made me feel, Chris, and that was made me feel something, and I loved it. So yeah.
Well, speaking of Kiss, then just one quick question on Kiss before we change subjects. Gene Simmons has come out recently, probably over a month and a bit ago now, stating that he has no problem in the future when the guys in Kiss can't play anymore to bring in a bunch of 20-year-olds, dress them up as the guys in Kiss, and keep playing and keep the music alive. Now, you've been a Kiss fan, just saw a show from these guys who were in their 70s, the originals. What would you think of that? If it happened now, would you go see them?
Mixed feelings on that. I probably wouldn't, but then that market of Kiss wouldn't be aimed at me.
No,
if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it would be aimed at my kids' age to keep the legacy alive, so to speak. You're then seeing a bunch of Kiss impersonators on stage. If they're happy to do it, and because they wouldn't do anything unless they're going to be making money out of it, and there'd be money being made in perpetuity. I'm sure Gene has got it planned out, you know. Gene has got it planned out to the, you know, like for next 2 generations, I'm sure, of how they would be able to keep making money off Kiss. And because ultimately, I've seen, you know, Kiss are a brand as much as a band, more so than a band. And, you know, I was watching some documentary, reading some stuff recently, but in 1979, Kiss made $117 million from merchandise. $1979.
Wow.
Not from album sales, from merchandise. That's everything. That's in 1979. No wonder they would have been the richest. They were rich young men. They were making money, you know, and if there's a way to just keep doing that, then they will keep doing that.
Yeah. And you'll see the 20-year-olds will come out with a different face paint. They'll have dollar signs painted over their eyes.
Oh. You know, that's the first I've heard of that, Chris. I like that. Gene's already, I think Gene Simmons has trademarked or copyrighted the money bag with a dollar symbol. He has. He's trademarked that. Wow. Oh, and he's trademarked this, and he's trademarked the term orange OJ. That's why no one refers to it as OJ anymore, because Gene Simmons has trademarked. Can you believe that?
All right, back onto the world tour. You mentioned them before, but you mentioned Def Leppard before. The Crüe have just announced their world tour. What are your thoughts on that with Def Leppard?
With Def Leppard, well, that's fantastic. We are going to go into something here. I think there's a bit of an elephant in the room because it has been on the internet and it is not going. It is not going away, Chris. It's like sitting in the corner. Before the world tour was announced, the rumor, and you pointed this out to me, and I couldn't believe it. I just said, "Is this true?" But apparently, the journo who said it said, "You can quote me. I will put my name on this." And it's almost like a cat got released from the bag. Is that John 5 will be replacing Mick Mars for the remainder of the Motley Crüe dates? My thing was, I'm in two minds about this because they said, no, we've got a big announcement coming in a couple of days, which turned out to be the world tour with Def Leppard. No Australian or European or Asian dates, which I'm not sure. I will, you know, I'll hold back on that one. They've clearly, obviously, booked a European jaunt and a South American tour. Along this, it's only Def Leppard and Motley Crüe, and it doesn't look like Poison or Joan Jett are attached to this. Of course, you know, it's going to be a massive tour all through Europe next year. Whether it continues on will be another thing. John 5 replacing Mick Mars, if this is true. Now, we all know, or as a Motley Crüe fan, you and I are very aware that Mick, even though he is still an incredible guitarist, is clearly physically not as well as he used to be. He's had a slowly degenerative disease, which I cannot pronounce. AS, they call it. I cannot, which is made, and we've all seen him. He gets helped up on stage and he literally just stands in one spot and moves from side to side, but he still plays incredibly. But clearly, pain, his age, physically, whether he'd be able to stand the rigors of a European tour, because, you know, you're not flying, you're driving in a bus from place to place to place to place. I'm sure they're luxury buses, but still, Mick has probably said, and probably even under doctor's orders, has said, no, I cannot do this anymore. This is still rumor. We're just putting in this is still where you and I just putting in our opinions here.
Breaking news on the Music Bar podcast.
Yes, well, but if John 5 is a more than able replacement for Motley Crüe, he's got a great look as always. He's a great player. I mean, great player, Chris. There's no arguments there.
Greatest underrated guitar players ever.
And you and I have seen videos of him. He can play in any style. Any style. You know, you give it. So he would be able to do those Mick Mars licks or whatever to the T. You know, you will think you are listening to Motley Crüe, and you're not just getting some session muso here. No disrespect to session musos, but Tommy Cluffitos had replaced Tommy on a few gigs because Tommy had hurt himself. And, you know, John 5 replacing for a whole tour. Yet, this negates everything that the End tour was all about. remember they signed those contracts, which they've clearly just blown up.
Yeah.
But they signed contracts because the initial thing was Motley Crue will only ever be those four guys, and once that's finished, no one can go out under the Motley Crue name with half a band or one band, or one member saying they're Motley Crue, or Tommy Lee's Motley Crue, or Vince Neil's Motley Crue, which can happen.
Yeah.
And has happened throughout history. Nobody, that was the whole point of that contract and the end. This is it. Obviously, things change, the world changes, new fans come along. Motley Crue have come out with the stadium tour. I still have reservations about the quality of their shows. I wasn't as thrilled with what I saw still. But having John 5 on negates that in my books. That's right. In my books. Mind you, Motley Crue have never played by the rules, never will play by and they're definitely not going to play by my rules.
No, they pretty much.
What's your thoughts on this, Chris?
I understand it because they had booked this tour already overseas before the whole John 5 thing had been rumored. So it wouldn't surprise me if they have booked it and can't get out of it. And
imagine the lawsuits, because that's what happens.
That's exactly right. That's what happens. If they get out of it, they lose heaps of money and they Def Leppard down and so forth. So I think they've pretty realised, and Mick most likely has realised, if this is true, that I can't do this anymore. And if I could, I would, but I really can't. So what do we do?
And there's no shame in that, Chris.
Absolutely not. No, not
no
at all.
Shame in it.
The fact they're still touring with him now, the fact he still gets out on stage now is actually quite incredible. So credit to him. But I think he's got to the point, if it's true, that it's okay, now this is it. I can't do it anymore. We weren't originally going to do the Europe one. I said maybe we can. Had to book it in advance. And now I've got to the point where I'm finishing this one here and I just can't go on. Who get? Well, one of Tommy and Nicky's friends is John 5. Let's get him. He can do it, and he can pretty pull it off without much rehearsal. Done, and it might only be that rest of the tour. They might not tour Australia, even though it's classed as a world tour. They haven't, like you said, have not announced dates in Australia yet or Asia. So who knows if they come out here or not, but they might just be finalising the last part and then call it quits. We don't know. I hope they come out here. If they came in with John 5, I'll be very happy to go see them again, to be honest. But again, I see some video clips the other day of Vince Neil singing very badly, and it still makes me wonder why they're doing this. But John 5, no, I've got a lot of his CDs, one of the greatest guitar players of all time, very underrated. I think if they do it, they've got the right person to do it for what he's about. So, yeah.
I got no problems. Yeah, as you said, I got no problems with John 5 doing the show. And it's funny when you said John 5's friends with Tommy Lee. John 5's like Taylor Hawkins. Yeah, everyone knows him and everyone loves him. So he's clearly easy to get on with. He does the job
very well.
It does the job very well. And he's great. But it's funny how you said he probably won't need much rehearsal. I did read recently that apparently Zakk Wylde hasn't even started practicing learning the Pantera songs yet. So that's a tour we've got to like.
Yes, that is a tour I've been worried about. And I actually did read, even though I saw an interview, I saw an interview with Zakk Wylde saying he has to go and rehearse it and practice it and start doing that kind of stuff. I do know in an article I've read recently that Dimebag's ex-girlfriend or girlfriend from the past has allowed Zakk to come over and take whatever gear he needs.
Oh yes, you told me this. Yeah,
to help get the sound what he needs. So it'll be interesting what he uses, which is great. But I'm still very skeptical of that one.
You're skeptical. You're skeptical. You say my thoughts on that. Of course, but my thoughts on that one.
Yes.
Now, Chris, tours. I'm getting a shiver up my spine just thinking about it.
I know.
Those nutty boys in Slipknot put out a little post on Instagram of a big top, eerie music playing, and then the map of Australia with the sign maggots.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Chris. Yeah. What a way to preempt a possible Australian tour.
I know. And it was yeah, the artwork and everything about it was just so cool. I don't
Mm,
see much from anything less from them, but to see the way they
mm,
kind of burnt the whole Australia outline and disappear. So
mm.
if you didn't know the country, you probably wouldn't know. But yeah, no, I thought it was amazing. And I know Metallica, when they cancelled because of James's rehab back in the day, a couple of years ago,
Mm,
they would be touring with Slipknot. And to be
that's
honest
right.
with you, I actually look forward to seeing Slipknot more than Metallica, because I've seen Metallica so many times. I've only ever seen Slipknot once. So I'm
I've never
looking
seen
forward.
Slipknot.
You never have?
No, that's why I'm dying. This is why this tour got me all right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Slipknot
Right.
are coming.
Everyone who likes music, heavy metal music, has to go see Slipknot at least once. So I'm going to see them twice. I was sad they didn't tour, obviously for James's benefit,
Mm.
also that Slipknot cancelled. But to see them come out here on their own and headline, I'm looking forward to that one for sure. So yeah,
Wonder. I'm gonna speculate right now because you and I have not discussed this. I'm literally just as we're talking, I'm speculating right here.
okay.
Because Slipknot have just released a brand spanking new album, The End So Far.
Hmm.
Okay. What are your thoughts? Have you heard it? What are your thoughts on this? It's
I
gotten
haven't
very
really
mixed from
listened to it.
hardcore. I like it. And
Yep.
the songs I do like are the ones that are the least Slipknotty. There's probably two
Oh,
or three
really?
songs on it that are real filler that I just went, oh, that goes nowhere.
All
But the
right.
opening track on it's a track called Adderall,
Hmm.
which is not heavy. It's quite slow, quite melodic, with backing harmonies and all that sort of stuff. And I love it. For me, it's one of the highlights of the record. I like that Slipknot are utilizing this massive ensemble that they are. And to me, this album sounds like everyone's got this room to. I'm sure there's Slipknot moments on it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
everyone on this record just seems to. It's like everyone's got a role, and you can hear it on this album.
yeah.
And I enjoyed it a whole bunch, and I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy the new Slipknot record. I know some diehard fans are hating it because it's probably too away from Slipknot, but hey, they're at a point now in their career where they're just like a bit like what Linkin Park did with that album that didn't go down well before Chester died. But they've always gone, we're this far into our career, unless we do something different where um, we're just going to stagnate. Mind you, it was unfortunate to read that Jim Root didn't play any guitar on the album. He said he's obviously going through something, and he said he was just a bit too depressed to even come up with stuff for the record. So that was a little unfortunate to hear. But here's something. Okay, the pictures of Big Top, right? Australia. What if they bring in Knotfest to Australia?
Ooh, don't.
Yes.
Oh, yum. That would be so good.
What? Because okay, you they made a big point of this Australian tour. I haven't seen anything for any other countries. It's just a big point of this Australia.
Mm.
Are they opening the world tour here in Australia? That's
Oh,
an unusual thing.
yeah, yeah.
Do not many bands start the world tour in Australia?
No,
They
that's
might
true.
be doing that.
Maybe
I
just
think
look at that
this
last one.
week we're going to hear something. Probably even
Big.
by the time this podcast goes to live, we might know. And then the next time we will talk about, Slipknot. But yeah, just the thought of a Big Top. I know it's circus theme, but Big Top is Not Fest. Are they going to come up with a version of Not Fest for Australia?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, look at
Um,
you. I saw you just.
one quick thing before that, because we've
Yep.
got to go very shortly, is
Oh no.
um, I did not know that Jim Root did not play any guitar or write anything in this album, and I know he
Mm.
left Stone Sour to concentrate on Slipknot, and I love the Stone Sour's albums with him. So the fact that he's
Uh-huh.
now gone over to and only concentrating on Slipknot and not actually writing for this one,
Mm.
I haven't heard the album yet. I've been too busy for the last 2 months to even listen to it. I will go listen
Mm.
to it. I'm very intrigued to see what happened, how I feel about it, but
I'd
that
be
is a
curious.
surprise to me.
I'd like to know your
Um,
thoughts on it, knowing that,
yeah, I
yeah.
did not know that. That's a bit worrying to me actually, because he writes some of the greatest stuff from Slipknot ever.
Yeah,
So,
he wrote nothing for this album, apparently. Wrote
oh wow,
nothing for it. Mm.
oh, my heart's breaking.
They're a troubled band.
Yeah,
We know that. It's obviously not easy being in Slipknot. It's clearly not.
Speaking of new music, which you just did with Slipknot, two bands have been coming out recently with new songs and albums. Alter Bridge and Nickelback. Nickelback released our song called San Quentin. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't. Or have I?
Don't bother.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did hear it. I did hear it. Yeah, it is. It's rubbish. That's right.
Just can't stand the whole idea that they did this.
Is that the one? Is that the one where he's driving in the car? Is that the video driving in the car or something?
I haven't seen the video clip. I only seen bits and snippets, but I've listened to the song and I just found it the most boring thing on planet.
And I'm surprised you even brought Nickelback up here.
Pardon?
I'm surprised you even brought Nickelback up here, but anyway,
well,
I suppose we got it. I know.
San Quentin is a massive, big, hardcore prison in San Francisco. So, and Metallica played in that prison for their song Saint Anger. And I just get annoyed when people are taking like it's just, to me, it's rubbish. It's just the song is rubbish. But then the Alter Bridge album, I have to I love Mark Tremonti. I just think some of his stuff is amazing. I've never been the biggest Alter Bridge fan, but I kind of want to be that kind of fan. Just like when I listen to Slash and he plays with Miles, I just can't get into that.
Miles Kennedy.
Yeah, Miles Kennedy. I can't get into the singing side of Miles's voice. It just drives me insane. He's a great singer, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Everything about it is just, for me, just annoys me. But hearing Slash play, I love that. But then in Alter Bridge, hearing Mark play, great. But hearing him drone his drony voice over the whole thing, it's just annoying to me. So Alter Bridge, the whole album, rubbish.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. We got time for cool things, Chris.
Yeah, you have. I haven't got one, but you can go for it.
Oh, man, well, I've got a couple of cool things for you, okay? Because I really just want to give some credit out there. First of all, an Australian band I've discovered called Turtle Skull. Yeah, a mate of mine put me onto this because I'm into a Brisbane band called Zong. They do a lot of droning, stoner rock kind of thing. And there was a festival headline in Byron Bay with this Sydney band called Turtle Skull with a headliner. I'm curious. I listened to their album, Monolith, and I can't stop listening to it. It's up there. I cannot stop listening to it. They're one of my new favorite bands, Turtle Skull. And also a mate of mine who goes by the name of Filter Theory has just released his brand new track on Bandcamp, and it's also on Spotify. Honestly, and I apologize because right off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the song, but Filter Theory, it's very post-rock, synthwave sort of stuff. Very, very, very cool. And thinking of cool things, I just heard today that Perturbator is touring Australia early next year. Oh my goodness. Check it all out. I think Perturbator. Have you ever heard of him? One man guy, synthesizer. He plays with a drummer. Heavy as, man. Heavy as. And he's coming out early next year. Yeah, check out Perturbator. I really, really dig it. It's no guitars. It's all keyboards and a drummer, and it's as heavy as anything. And yeah, there's some really, really cool stuff with Perturbator. And I think that's all Turtle Skull and Filter Theory and Perturbator are touring there. I just made up for your cool things there, Chris.
Well, I've got a couple of cool things I can probably think of. We've got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll talk about them.
Yeah.
Sammy Hagar and the Circle just released an album called Crazy Times. Again, it's a Sammy Hagar Circle album. It's not the greatest songs, but they're catchy in some way. They're all right to listen to in the background. Have a listen, people. Tell me what you think of it. And that's one thing which I hope is cool, but I haven't really heard too much of it yet. And the other thing would be, I did a Get On It recently or a while back. Belinda Carlisle album, Belinda Runaway Horses. And she commented.
Keep going. You only got a little time. Keep going.
She commented on my posts. So thank you, Belinda.
No. Belinda Carlisle. Belinda, we would like to interview you. If you do manage to listen to the show, we would love to interview you. Okay. But look at him. He's blushing. He's blushing.
Man. Made my day. It was such a so the fact that she commented on my Get On It was just amazing. So yeah, I've had I've had her and Daniel Johns now like a post. So which I've just received Daniel Johns' album after ordering it in February.
I know when you said to me, "Oh, I've finally got it," I went, "Didn't you order that ages ago?"
Yeah,
but
February,
I know
got it.
there's been a worldwide shortage of vinyl.
Yeah.
So
Good
yeah.
album too, though. It's a really good album.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. Yeah. Pretty decent record. But anyway, obviously that's all we got time for.
Yeah.
Wow, we packed it in. And I'm sure there's stuff we missed out on. I did want to comment on Australian Story, Parkway Drive the other night. I'd never really been a fan of Parkway Drive. And after watching that, I heard their latest album and I've become a Parkway Drive fan. Yes, I'm late to the party, but who cares? Sometimes it's good when it's new. And I really, really dug Parkway Drive.
And
so
Noiseworks
there's another one.
Released a new album.
Who?
Noiseworks.
What? After all these years?
Yeah, with Erwin Thomas.
Oh,
Jack
who was Jack Jones?
Yeah.
He was a friend of Dweezil Zappa's, and he can play. Man, can that guy play?
Yeah, anyway.
There we go.
For those of you watching and listening, please like and subscribe. We're back in 2 months. As you know, if you listen to us, why it happened, you know now why. But we're back. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. The Music Bar Podcast. It should be
spread the word. It should be, because I'll tell you what, I listen and we're good.
See you guys. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.